because the latest news, I can't believe I'm reading this headline. Biden administration exporting oil from U.S. strategic reserves to Europe and Asia. Are you kidding me? At a time when regular people in this country can't afford gas, when you are getting prominent Democrats saying, just buy an electric car. What's the problem? Don't have $60,000? Well, maybe you should have considered that before you were poor. Joe Biden is exporting our strategic reserves to Europe and Asia, probably because of Ukraine and Russia, because our allies in Europe are suffering due to the war. But should the United States be giving up its strategic reserves when our prices are as high as they are? Now listen, Joe Biden has released millions of barrels from our strategic reserves. It's done almost nothing to curb the cost of gasoline. Why still would you give up our emergency reserves? This is the epitome of insanity. You know what? I think regular people in this country get it by now. You must stop listening to the zealous, psychotic Democrat activists who are going to defend this. This is beyond reproach. You can come out and say everything you want. You can say Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine is causing economic supply chain crunches. You can say it's damaging the value of the dollar. You can say Saudi Arabia is not making enough oil. You can say the oil companies have record profits, all of those things. Fine. And then I ask you, why is Biden exporting our emergency reserves? It's about time you wake up to the fact that this country is being gutted. Regular people are calling it out, and that's why Biden's approval rating is in the gutter. And this is why I think Joe Biden's not going to be running for re-election. There is no way you run this man in 2024 and he beats Trump or DeSantis. And then what's going to stop Trump or DeSantis? I don't know. Maybe what they'll do is they'll levy criminal charges against Donald Trump. But then you get DeSantis. What are they going to do to stop DeSantis from running? No way. You run Joe Biden after this. This is the kick in the balls to the American people. This is the slap in the face.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Good morning.
Good morning. Constitution vet.
Good morning.
So, what do you think? You did some research on it. Is what Biden doing actually constitutional?
So, first off, I love Tim Pool's analysis of that. I don't always agree with him on everything, but I definitely agree with him on this certain take. Okay, so here we go. In Article 1, Section 8, it does state that Congress does have the authority to regulate commerce, including oil, with foreign nations, other states, and with Native American tribes. Okay. In 1975, there was an oil export ban. Because back then, guess what? We had a massive oil shortage. So all oil exports were banned. Okay. But in 2015, Congress lifted that ban. Because in 2015, we weren't in this massive oil shortage. So let's go back for a second. Congress, our government exporting oil, that by itself is not unconstitutional. Okay. However, when the president of the United States, which is part of the executive branch, not the legislative branch, when the president decides to send all that oil from our emergency reserves to a country that is supplying and aiding Russia, it's just dumb. On one hand, you're sending oil to the European countries who are the victims of evil Russia. And at the same time, you're sending oil to China, who is developing themselves as a civilization state. And Dr. Steve Turley made a great video about that a couple of days ago. Russia, India, and China are developing themselves as civilization states, which means they don't have to rely on anyone. They're completely self-reliant. So not only is our current demented potato in chief like a tyrant, but he's just dumb. He is stupid.
Well, it's no coincidence three of those countries you mentioned are part of BRIC
Yeah.
as well. Brazil, and I believe it's South Africa is the other one. They have potential of doing the same thing if they wanted to. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. With Barcelona, the president in Brazil, I can't remember his name. Is it Barcelona or
Basilero, I think.
Okay.
I think
He strikes me as the type of person that might actually do something like that, and which I don't see as a bad thing. The United States should do that, and try to become more independent and not worry about other people and exporting stuff from other.
We were.
Well, I'm not only talking about oil and gas. I'm talking about medications. I'm talking about everything.
Okay, gotcha.
Because 95% of our medications in the United States comes from China.
Right. I got you. Yeah, no, it's pretty insane when you see people from all walks of life again coming together and realizing, hey, wait a second, this is not good. And like we talked about in previous weeks, what's the one thing that brings people together? Gas. And I love Tim Pool's comment. He was like, well, just go buy an electric car. First off, while I'm not against developing new ways of transportation, I'm not against that. But when you make the argument that electric cars are better for the environment, have you seen where the products come from to make these electric cars, these batteries for these electric cars? Have you seen the lithium mines? Please do not tell me that there's no there's a lesser environmental impact with electric cars than there is with normal gas.
Well, it's not only that. Also, where do they go after the batteries stop working? Or what do you do with them at that point?
What do you do?
Because
you can't just get rid of it the normal way. No. It's a battery. So
yeah, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked when it comes to electric cars. When it comes to what do you do with the batteries? Right. Also, when it comes to solar panels, how do you destroy them? How do you get rid of them? Because those things are not biodegradable. So burying them, it's not really an option.
Right. And actually, was it in March of this year, our current potato in chief signed an executive order that prohibits all trade with Russia. Okay. Good morning, Michael. This executive order,
don't mind me. Keep going.
Yeah, this executive order prohibits all trade with Russia, basically. Okay. And yet, here we are exporting oil to, again, a country like China, which, again, is not our best of buds. Let's make that very clear.
Well, I was wondering how long it was going to take before he takes the tariffs off. So, because I have a feeling that's going to happen next.
Right.
The other thing is, I was looking in the news, is that Biden wants to do price regulations on the at the pump. And by what I remember, because I was born in 79, so I don't remember this, but by what my dad told me and everything, that didn't work out too well in the 70s when they tried doing that. You had long lines. You had a lot of issues with lack of oil. And right now, we don't have that right now at the pumps. There's no lines. There's no long lines, nothing like that. Just prices are high.
But it could get there.
It could get there just with the prices being high and the issue of getting the fuel from point A to point B because how much diesel is. Because you have to use the truck right now because they're shutting down a lot of these pipelines to get gasoline from one place to another, or diesel from one place to another.
Yeah, it's my take on all this is like, why can't you just reopen the Keystone Pipeline? I mean, why can't we just do that?
I don't think be honest with you, the problem isn't the pipeline. The problem is how they built the pipeline and how much emissions it takes to actually build a pipeline. That's what I'm getting at it. And not only that, the land it's going through is supposedly Native American land, and they want to shut it down too, even though they get a premium dollar from not only companies but also from the federal government when it comes to putting pipelines or anything that has to do with the oil field. They get all the money. There's no like taxes they have to pay, anything like that to the federal government when it comes to that. When it comes to royalties.
Right. Well, and that's the thing that goes back to my original point. It's like I'm not against finding creative ways to get from point A to point B. I'm not against that. What I am against is the hypocrisy to all this. Yeah. When you make the argument that going green is going to help our environment, no, it's not. It's not going to be this amazing thing where you're going to have rainbows and unicorns and sunshine. No, it's going to be just as damaging if you don't be mindful of what you're doing.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with it's a language issue, right? Green, right? What does green mean? It's like when that word organics became a marketing ploy, right? The word it's organic, right? They do one thing that makes their product slightly more quote unquote organic than the next. It's like it's the same product, almost exact same process, but they changed one thing in their process. Now they get to use that label organic, right? It's just a marketing ploy. Same way with the word green. It's like, well, what does that mean? Well, it just means in one word that it's better for the environment. That's how we translate it. But the fact of the matter is it's an agenda, right? It's a religion. Green is what we say is good for the planet and not what anybody else says. The facts be damned. But some good news happened in Europe, right? I don't know the name of the agency or whatever, but I am all for green energy now. Like I'm all on board because they voted to make nuclear and natural gas a part of the green energy plan in Europe, right? Nuclear power and natural gas are now considered green energy in Europe. So it's a language thing, right? Nuclear power is zero emissions, right? They're talking about lowering CO2 emissions. Well, nuclear power is green as green gets. It's renewable, it's abundant, right? So.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Matt, can you elaborate? Who was that? It's like they just voted or whatever.
As far as I know, it's the EAU that did that. European Union. They came together. They decided to make that possible because of the war in Ukraine and how bad it was hurting them when it comes to not buying oil and gas from Russia because they get 40% from there.
What I heard I think in Germany, that there's a run on wood burning stoves and wood.
Yes. Yep.
A run on the dirtiest, most carbon, putting out the most carbon, cutting down trees and burning wood. You talk about carbon emissions. That's the dirtiest you can get.
That's worse than coal.
That's worse than coal. Burning trees is what's the opposite of green, right? It's the opposite of green. Yet they need to stay alive and not freeze to death.
Yep.
So.
And in other news, Boris Johnson just resigned.
Well,
water is cage free.
It's probably because he was elected to be a conservative and he got in there and became a socialist. That's what happened.
He got caught in a bunch of lies too.
Yep, that too. Yes. Yeah.
I heard somebody, I forget who it was. It was probably I think it was Ben Shapiro, actually. I don't listen to him a lot, but every now and then I'll listen to something. I think it was him saying, maybe it wasn't him, but somebody saying, the best policy, if you are a politician and you get caught in a lie, the best outcome, the best policy is to own up and move on, not to double down, right? Because if you're a liar, if you lie, and you've all heard this before, you have to have a really good memory, right? Liars have to remember every lie they've told and try and make all their new lies fit with that, and that's impossible. So if you just own up to what you did wrong, lying, and in his case, he lied about partying under lockdowns, and one of his political appointees had sex scandals, right? Those are the two big lies. Oh, I remember who it was. I was listening to Charlie Kirk on the radio, and he had Nigel Farage, who was basically the reason Brexit happened, was Nigel Farage. And that was what Nigel was saying. The best policy, that's who it was. It wasn't Ben Shapiro. Nigel was saying, if you get caught in a lie, own up to it and move on. Your political career will survive, usually. But if you double down, you're setting yourself up for failure. And so he had like 50, in the span of 48 hours, 50 of his cabinet members resigned, something like that.
I see this one thing from John Cordisco. He's talking about New York. There's billions of dollars of natural gas here in upstate New York. It's just sitting here because New York's government, which he's right. It's in New York, they don't allow fracking or drilling. I remember when I first got into the oil field, we went up to PA line. We get as close to New York as we could. They'll do directional drilling into New York underneath there to try to get as much of that natural gas and oil as they could. But they actually shut that down after a while because they said, "Hey, going underneath it, that's the same thing as coming over." So they shut that down too. But it was, I think it was like after they actually passed that where they weren't allowed to drill or go for oil there, and it's sad because there is a lot of natural gas in New York, a lot, and it'd be a great place to find stuff, find that there, but they have it shut down right now.
I wonder, is that going to turn around? And will it ever turn around in our country? Well, with red wave coming, right? I think, if not 2022, 2024. We're going to see a bunch of that stuff turn around because Trump did it in a few years. We were back. We were on top. We had the greatest economy ever in history in just a few years with Trump in office.
Yeah, but in New York, that's been that way for almost, I think, 15 years now. I don't see it changing right now unless you can change the composition of the government in New York State.
Well, it's red states. I just read this yesterday. I mean, it's a foregone conclusion to us who are paying attention, but the red state recovery from the lockdown has been faster and stronger than any of the blue states. And so as that continues, as the red states get wealthier and wealthier and do better and better, I mean, just like the thing that happened in Europe, changing the label of nuclear and now making it green, I think some of the blue states may come along.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When it comes to nuclear, I don't see why they wouldn't come along with that because there's nothing wrong with nuclear except for maybe the nuclear waste. But we found ways to get rid of that and do something with it. They've actually made with nuclear waste, made little batteries that you could use in like cell phones, other devices. And that's how they're actually using nuclear waste now. And it's a battery that lasts for almost ever. It's a good battery. I don't know if y'all seen them yet, but they're pretty good batteries. It's just they're just starting off with them, but yeah, I think it's going to become big later on.
Well, yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think I always go back to the big picture. What I was mentioning earlier, Dr. Turley made a great point a couple of days ago. He was showing how Russia's recent victory over the Lugansk region in Ukraine just shows that these civilization states are becoming victorious against this globalist regime. The fact that Roe v. Wade gave power back to the states, it gave power back to the sovereignty of states. So you can look at the big picture. Nations can be civilization states where they're completely self-reliant. They don't need anyone. They can do their own thing, their own unique culture and identity and traditions. And you can apply that to the small picture with the states in America, how each state has its own type of civilization concept. But that's completely against the one-size-fits-all globalist perspective. And we've seen what has happened with that. When you have global organizations try to force policy down the throats of the people,
well, you're seeing what's going on in Europe now with the farmers going on strike and starting to protest. It's happening in 4 different countries now: Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, and Germany. And I think I was watching one video. what happened in Netherlands. They shot at a 16-year-old kid. The cops did in a tractor, and the only thing that saved them was this the bar that they have that separates the front window to the back window.
And of course, the kid wasn't armed. No. Just the police can be. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, good morning.
But speaking of executive orders, I was going to bring this up, but Biden is supposed to sign an executive order today to pretty much for abortion. And what it's supposed to do is send funds to Obamacare, Medicare, and Medicaid to push the abortion pill and other contraceptives. They're considering the abortion pill a contraceptive. And it's supposed to be signed sometime today. My thing is, if you're going to use federal tax dollars, I think there's a way you could actually challenge that and take it to court, because we know that federal dollars is not supposed to go to abortion, even though it's just a pill. But my question for you two: do you think maybe the overturning of Roe versus Wade, the Democrats and some Republicans wanted that to happen in order to create a large windfall by these pharmaceutical companies so they can get the money from this abortion bill? That's not a conspiracy theory. I'm just asking the question. Do you think this could be possible?
Michael, you can go first if you want.
I'll chime in, but I might go through a bad cell zone here in a sec. Obviously, there are people that look ahead and know the ins and outs of things, and guys at the pharmaceutical companies are going, oh, well, this is going to be a windfall for us for sure. And maybe that they lobbied extra hard to their, whoever.
Their politicians. Mike's probably talking about the lobbying, how they got the approval to go through with that, right? Yeah. So, honestly, I think that this could go to court. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. I think the states are going to have a pretty big thing to deal with, because obviously this is all now at the state levels, not at the federal level. However, I am very curious to see if a state would take this to federal court and say, hey, you can't do this. You cannot be using federal funding to do this.
Well, the one I see doing is Texas.
Well, yeah.
Definitely. Texas, maybe Missouri, South Dakota,
Ben.
North Dakota.
What's up, Michael?
I got a question, Ben. So I don't know if you would know this. So the Supreme Court is out of session now, right? So do you know when they're back in session?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's find out. I'll find out right now.
Because, Biden signing this executive order, it'll go straight to the Supreme Court, right? It's going to be challenged, as you like, Matt. Yeah, that's one that absolutely will get taken to court instantly, and it'll go to the Supreme Court. Will take it quickly, right? Some of the things the Supreme Court looks at, they're like, let's put that off. Let's not handle that. We don't need to deal with that. But this is one that will go straight to the Supreme Court. They'll deal with it right away. It'll go away. Biden has multiple executive orders that have been totally, almost instantly overturned. So I'm not too worried about this executive order.
It looks like they come back on September 28th. Oh, no. Maybe they come back sooner. I'm still looking. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I'm thinking near the end of summer.
My thing is, you got. Go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's the do something disease. It's like all the left is saying, Democrats have been in power and they haven't codified abortion yet. It's like, do something. And so they have to appease their constituents.
Well, they could have done it when Obama was president, when he had majorities in the Senate and the House. They actually had a bill.
Yeah.
And he didn't go after that. He decided to go after Obamacare instead.
Could this go to a district federal court, like within the states?
Yes. Yeah, it could.
It might go there before the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
comes
it'll
in.
go there. It'll just follow the chain. It'll
Yeah.
definitely do that. Yeah.
Well, no, I definitely see it going back into the courtroom, because they would look at that as the executive branch trying to find a loophole, just like they tried doing with OSHA and the vaccine mandates. That got shot down.
Well, my thing is the abortion pill and abortion, like going into a clinic and getting it done, is a lot different. And the court might see it different. The court might say, "Hey, this is a privacy issue. It's something that we don't want to get involved in." I can see them doing that. And my thing is, it's not birth control. What it does is, whenever you take it, it makes the woman's body think. It forces what's it called?
Miscarriage.
Miscarriage. Yes, that's what it does. And they're gonna, on the left's gonna say there's miscarriages all the time. You have no evidence you use this pill.
Right.
So I think there's way. I think this might be their thought of way around it. But my biggest issue is if funding it with federal tax dollars and using my tax money and your tax money and everybody else's tax money to do it is bull crap. Bull crap. Absolutely not.
Yeah, if the Supreme Court doesn't hear it because of privacy, it would just go back to the states, and every state would handle it the way they need to.
Yeah. I'm hoping it stays that way then. But,
Well, I live in California.
Yeah. Yeah, that state sponsors infanticide.
My tax dollars at work.
Yep.
Right?
Well, California used to be good. It used to be a good state way back when.
Back in the
80s. Hollywood used to be run by Republicans and conservatives.
Well, that explains why their movies suck now.
Right? Right?
I went and saw Thor: Love and Thunder, and I was like, this is so bad. It's so bad.
All right, thank you for that preview. Actually, my daughter is going. I have one of my children, my daughter, my youngest, is a Marvel, like she loves Marvel, everything. And she'll go to the movies even knowing they're awful. And she's like, I'm going to see Love and Thunder. I'll tell you how bad it is.
I took my daughter to see it, and because she wanted to see it, and we're there, and we get out, and she normally don't say a movie's really bad. She's like, Dad, I didn't like that at all. It's like,
wow.
And she's 11, and I'm like this. Wow, it's just I don't know. I think they when I went in there as like, okay, it can't be as bad as Doctor Strange. It can't be as bad.
Oh.
And it's just as bad. And I was like, Marvel's lost their touch because after I believe it was Endgame, it went all to hell.
Well, that's the point. Like, Endgame was supposed to be the culminating final chapter, and after that, I was done. I was like, yeah, there's no point.
Well, what some of these YouTubers are calling it the MCU. And I find it funny.
See, that's been my big nerd rant for years. Is you can make great characters, man or woman, and make them great characters instead of forcing these stereotypes down people's throats and say you should love this because it's a female. No, I should love it because it's a great story.
Yeah. That's where they messed up on Captain Marvel. Right there. I mean, first thing, I think the actress they picked was bad, and number two, the story and way they portrayed her, just was not good at all.
She was a villain.
Captain Marvel. Yeah,
she was the villain. Like she was unlikable.
Yeah. Well, Brie Larson's unlikable personally, anyway. I don't know if you ever watched her YouTube; it's awful.
I saw Brie Larson. I think she won an Oscar for Room, a movie called Room. She was she played a character that had been abducted. She was a sex slave to some freak, and she had a son, and she was trapped in this one room. And it was brilliant. right? So this is before you know who she is. You know, she's an actress. She played this role really well and won the big award. And then everybody wants her, and she gets the biggest role, the biggest paycheck in the time of women. And she's just, everybody thinks she's horrible to work with, horrible to be around. And she does not hide it. She's got an agenda, etc. And it's like, I never want to see another thing she's in, unless, you know, I mean, if she did well in that one role, I liked it, but she didn't have all this baggage by then. Now she has baggage. I can't watch her.
All right, guys, we're going to have to end it. We're went a little over. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Take care, guys.